I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. Roshomon is a great fucking movie. Aloha nerds, and welcome back to another episode of TheSalawag's Why It's Great Gut Reaction. I'm your host, TheSalawag. On this show, I talk about things I just watched and react from the gut. Now, I actually watched Roshomon a few nights ago with a friend, and damn, it was a great film. Roshomon was directed by Akira Kurosawa, one of the famed great directors. Definitely one of the ones I was told to study back in college and never did. I did see Yojimbo, and because I was already spoiled by The Man with No Name, I don't think I appreciated that movie quite as much. But damn, Roshomon is about... Roshomon centers around a court case in which four different people have four completely different accounts of the same event. A traveling swordsman and his wife are stopped by a thief who attacks them and rapes the wife and allegedly murders the swordsman. However, when we are told each story, the details of those stories differ completely. In one story, one person's a villain, and in another story, another person's a villain. And in each story, each person sort of seems to be protecting some kind of secret. And the movie ultimately leaves you not 100% sure who's telling the truth, or if you'll ever get the truth by the end of the movie, or by rewatching it. And that's pretty inventive. The use of time, they bounce around the timeline of the events very creatively, but in a way that's very effective. Damn, Roshomon it had sword fights, it had humor, it had really great characters. It's a bit cheesy. It has some deeper messages that are that feel a bit blatant as you watch them. But I gotta say, man, Roshomon was just a great experience. Now, me and my friends watched this on HBO Max. Once more, we are not sponsored by HBO Max. But if HBO Max wants to sponsor us, we're not going to say no. But anyway, we were watching this on HBO Max. That's where you can watch it, and you should watch it. For the film fan, for the cinema nerd, for the person who wants to learn about how storytelling is done and done well, you got to see Roshomon, directed by Akira Kurosawa. Now, one of the things that really gets me about this movie is the reason each person lies and what they lie about. Now, spoiler territory, if you're even vaguely interested in watching this and don't want to have anything spoiled for you, stop watching, go see Roshomon. I'm going to talk about spoiler stuff now. So, the four stories that tell the tale that we hear about in this movie, the first version is told by the thief who attacked this couple. And in his version of the story, he defeated the swordsman in a swift battle and tied him up, and then proceeded to rape his wife, and in a gallant battle defeated the husband. And it's very epic and makes him sound quite dangerous. Then we see the wife's story, where in fact well, according to the wife, the thief actually was kind of in love with her by the end of the sexual assault, and was kind of swearing to be with her, and it was kind of bizarre, and he was a little bit more pathetic, but certainly more sinister, but definitely a little bit more pathetic. And then the ghost told the story, and the ghost the ghost is the spirit of the dead swordsman. He is resurrected for the sake of telling his perspective of the story. And in that story, the swordsman has the most noble battle and is most conflicted about the events that have occurred. But then we get the fourth perspective, which is actually, the plot of the movie surrounds the actual trial. So everyone's trying to figure out what happened and find the actual truth. But there's a fourth perspective that's left out of the trial by one of the witnesses who was just bearing witness to the case. And it turned out he had actually been there for the at least a good segment of the events. What's interesting is each story picks up at a certain point. So certain facts presumably line up amongst each story. Each story basically picks up from about a little over the first third, where you can assume there's overlapping agreements between the storytellers. But this story completely conflicts with the other three. In the third story, the thief does attack them. The swordsman is tied up, but the wife actually conspires to have the husband killed. After the thief indeed does pathetically swear his life to her if she would only leave the swordsman. And she takes his word. She takes him up on his word. And the thief can't do it. The thief can't kill the husband. Well, he offers to kill the husband in order to have her. And so she takes him up on it. And the thief, despite having what he said, totally backs out on it. And so the wife laughs at both of them and is just humiliates them both for being such cowards. She laughs at the husband first for not wanting to kill the thief for raping her, because the thief cuts the bonds of the swordsman so that they can fight, but the swordsman does not fight and says, now this woman has been with two men and she is dishonorable and I cannot be with her. And the thief, who's conflicted, all of a sudden feels like, whoa, I don't want to be a champion in some battle. And so the wife laughs. It's like, wait a minute, these are all the things that you both promised. You, my husband, promised to protect me, and you, thief, just promised to slay my husband and take me away. And neither one of you actually have the balls to do the thing you say you want to do. And she laughs at them, and out of sheer humiliation, both men battle each other. And it is the most pathetic battle you've ever seen. It's hilariously pathetic as both men struggle to fight each other in a kind of realistic way where you can tell both men are not actual fighters. The thief is a thief, and he mostly just grabs stuff and runs away. He threatens people, gets what he wants, and runs away. But the husband, supposedly a nobleman, completely wimps out of, defending the honor of his wife. And so their battle is just a pathetic attempt to scrape any self-respect off of what the wife says to them. And I couldn't help but feel, now this is not an academic thing. Sometimes I try to be academic with the notes I have to say, but I couldn't help but feel the realism of that conversation in that moment. It felt extremely real to me, seeing how couples are, how many times, the wife or the feminine half of a couple tends to have to rein in the man and set him straight from weird thinking. And in this was a case where it was about the actual honor that these people are supposed to be projecting. The honor and the valiance they see in themselves is a complete lie, and it's something that they are just relying on society for to keep them in their place, but they themselves don't have the actual balls to be the men they say they are. And that I thought was very interesting. A very real life couple conversation as opposed to anything else. And when it cuts back to the people who are telling the story, this is the ones who are recounting the stories for us, this happens after the trial. So they're just recounting the stories that were told at the trial. And it's the one who kind of starts this whole conversation with everyone recounting the stories is the priest. And the priest is the one having hokey sort of concerns about the nature of humanity. And in this instance, they hear a child crying. This is the end of the movie now. They hear a child crying and find that one of the men that's recounting this story, or actually the man who's asking everyone what happened at the trial, Another character I didn't bother mentioning to you. Essentially, they hear this baby crying, and this thief is stealing the rags off of the child. And so the man who told the last story, the last piece of perspective, tries to stop the man and say, why are you taking these rags from the child? Clearly the parents were trying to protect the child by giving him warm clothes. And then the thief says, what do you mean? They abandoned the child. Exactly how are they supposed to be protecting them with these warm clothes? Clearly they were leaving him to die. Because this whole sequence, this whole part of the movie where everyone's recounting the stories is happening at like the gate of a ruined temple where everyone's just hanging out while it rains, just waiting for the rain to pass so they can all go home. That's essentially the genesis of what happened here, and I decided not to tell you that up front because I'm an airhead. And so that's why everyone's recounting these stories, because they're here at this ruin to talk about it. And it's really only, I felt, with the priest that we heard some hokey stuff about humanity, but everything in the stories is building up to sort of that point. So I think for that, on that academic level, it's cool to see, or actually not on not an academic level, but a personal level, just seeing how people are. This movie really is about examining how people are versus what they think about themselves and what they think about other people. So I thought, really great examination of what reality is versus society, what reality is versus our individual perspective. That kind of stuff I think is great. One of the things they teach you when they're training you how to be a filmmaker is to understand what a film is supposed to be. A film has multiple levels, and how you are as a filmmaker in terms of your skill set is how you achieve each of those levels. First being the plot, second being the story, third being the theme, fourth being the reason. What's the reason this story is being told? Because the reason motivates everything else. You know, if this is a morality tale about how people see themselves, then the story has a certain function. But then it's, you know, what are the stories of this theme? The stories of are four perspectives of the same event, where each person has a different point of view on themselves in the event, and how they use their own point of view to get the best benefit for themselves. And so the story is in many ways pessimistic, but there is sort of a silver lining in that by the end, after examining the way humanity is fickle or prideful or just full of shit, there is some part of humanity that wants to be better and wants to do the right thing. And that is essentially what sort of saves humanity in this little bubble of a context. So I really liked that. That was something I really liked with Roshomon. So this is just a short video. I just want to do a quick recommendation. Go check that out on HBO Max if you got it. Great film, great points of view. Yeah, that's why it's a gut reaction, because I didn't have that much to say. I just wanted you to know, go out and see it. So, thank you very much for watching. Remember, if you like this, don't subscribe, and don't comment. Adios.